wXw stopped by Frankfurt for their 25th anniversary show tour. And this was a show I was actually looking forward to. I was expecting the type of standard I would expect from wXw, and that's pretty much greatness. Unfortunately though, it didn't reach those expectations. So in this video, I'm going to break down each match and show you how wXw failed to capitalize when it counted the most. And one of those things that needed to capitalize was one of the better looking matches on paper for this show. Shigehiro Irie vs. one called Manders was a match capable of being the best match of the night. But instead, it was the most disappointing match of the night at just 2 3/4 stars. This didn't have enough time, not enough escalation in certain spots, and I didn't sense that this was a match that was intended to be great. But damn, if it's not going to be great, could it at least be good? This didn't even reach that. This show really left me with more questions than answers, and probably the biggest one was, why was the main event so anticlimactic? Peter Tihanyi versus Joseph Fenech Jr. for the Unified World Wrestling title should have been the match to define this night for this show, but it wasn't. Tihanyi retained with a spinning tornado DDT, and honestly, the way this was even executed was one of the most anticlimactic endings I've seen all year. I gave this one 3.5 stars on top of that. So not only do you have 2 disappointing matches so far, but one of those matches was very anticlimactic. But it gets worse. Everett versus Madison Marley, they tried. But in the end, this was the worst match of the night at 1 3/4 stars. Now look, not every match is going to be a classic, but bruh, this is wXw, and part of their 25th anniversary tour. They need to showcase something here when it comes to the trailer platform. So clearly there needs to be some higher standards than putting on a match like this. And this match definitely didn't do its job. But speaking of doing jobs, there was one match that may have, but it had one issue. Dragging. Ahura versus Schwartz was a good match at 3 1/4 stars, but this dragged. It had the right pieces, solid execution, and knew where to go as far as direction, but the pacing here just didn't serve the story here. However, there were some matches that didn't have those pacing issues, but the problem was, it was forgettable. Dullnig versus Zoltan for the shotgun title ended up being a good match at 3 stars, as well as Allen Angels versus Blum in the opener at 3 1/4 stars. Both matches had decent amount of time, didn't overstay their welcome either, and there were proper matches that you can watch. However, it didn't help the hole that the show was in to get to that next level, and it can be seen as forgettable after you watch it. But what can be worse than a forgettable match? A forgettable match that takes a while to get going. Gojirah versus The Grind for the wXw Tag Team titles ended up being 3 1/4 stars, but it took a while to get going. Now when a match takes time to build, that's usually fine. But by the time this match happened at the end of the first half, it really needed a statement match of sorts to at least condone the quality the first half presented itself. But whether it's the first half or the second half, this show did one ultimate thing: disappoint me. Flat out. This was not the wXw standard I came to know wXw to be. And for that, even though this was a good show, it wasn't a great show for an anniversary show tour for us to buy into. This gets a 7.0 out of 10. Not recommended.